All right, that was Ahmaud Arbery. We're going to be talking about him in a little bit. Very, very sad story. But my name is Brad Bernstein. Welcome to Brad Show Live. It is May 11th, 2020. And it is day, I don't even know. How many days are we in coronavirus quarantine? Does anybody even count anymore? It's like every day is the same. Every day we don't know what's going to be happening here. But hopefully we get back to some semblance of life. And at the same time, we protect ourselves too. We'll talk about all of that in the schmooze. But right now, let me say hello to Jessica Leamy, Joel Reed, Squad Up, June Gale, how are you? Tracy Haynes, Sandra Salinas joining us, Squad Up, all the way from California. First Lady Leah, Elisa Enot saying good afternoon, Squad. Who else we got here? Janet Doreen Morris, how are you? Hernandez Sammy saying good evening. And on YouTube, we can't forget YouTube. Shanfell with just a hello. And Kay Wackery, how are you? Sexy Shan Myers, Jerry Stewart saying Brad is back. I am, as they say, back and better than ever. Elisa Henry, how are you? Tracy Lacey and Tia Persaud, what's going on? Chuka Illa Chukwa with a question. We'll get to you in a little bit. Bello, Rima as well. I do have to remind everybody who's watching on YouTube and Facebook right now that if you're watching and you want to be able to watch our show every day, you find it entertaining, you find it educational, you find it fun to meet new friends and acquaintances from not only your neck of the woods, but all over the entire world. And that's a lot of reasons why people love watching this show. Also, they like to get the news and hear what's going on. They also like to be well informed about laws and also just kind of have fun and laugh. So if you're that type of person, well-rounded person, that's the person we're looking for in the Brad Squad. So the best way to be part of the Brad Squad is you got to subscribe on YouTube. If you subscribe on YouTube, you'll be notified every time we come on the air. You never have to send me a DM saying, Brad, when are you going to be on? You will know exactly when you're going to be on because I'm going to ding you. Brad Show Live is going to ding you every time. And on Facebook, you want to like and subscribe. You want to like and follow our show. You'll get the same ding. And you can also be a member of the Brad Squad. First rule of being a Brad Squad, you gotta subscribe on YouTube and you gotta like and follow on Facebook. And then you just gotta put in for a membership request. And it's very, very easy to be a member. You have to be fun. You have to be like and subscribe. You have to be well liked in the comment section. And we have to know who you are. And that's just about everybody in the Brad Squad. Our Brad Squad is over, I think I want to say over 6,000 people strong so far who are members of the Brad Squad. We have over 16,500 people subscribing on YouTube and over 113,000 people following us on Facebook. So let me just say one other thing. You do not have to be ashamed or scared to say, oh my God, I'm going to subscribe on YouTube or I'm going to like and follow on Facebook, because as I say every day, just because you subscribe or just because you like and follow doesn't mean you have an immigration problem. Doesn't even mean you're an immigrant. Lots of American citizens who like, follow, and subscribe. With that, I just got to say hello to a couple more people who joined us. Dawn Harriet, hello. Linda Shaw, Jasmine McDonald, Oscar Crucis, Dawn Harriet, Fiona Williams, Squad Up, and Mohammed Junaid Sadiq. Squad Up. And on YouTube, Garfield Smith, Spider-Man is back and he is yelling it from somewhere on the side of a building. Uncle Brad, best lawyer in USA. Thank you, Spider-Man. And Garfield Smith, Marco Salinas, Sue Andy, Lady Leah, Latoya McKenzie, Squad Up to you all. Let's get into some schmoozing with Brad and see what's going on in the world. So according to statistics from the Johns Hopkins University, there are over 4.15 million novel coronavirus cases worldwide. Over 284,000 people have died. More than 1.43 million people have recovered. In the United States, there's 1.34 million people. That's almost 1.5 million people diagnosed with coronavirus. 79,900 people in the United States have died so far. Now, all of these numbers, as we say every day, they're undercounts. They're not overcounts. They're undercounts. How are they undercounts? They're undercounts because there's a lot of people who died who never got tested. And there's a lot of people walking around with coronavirus and who recovered and also were never tested and have no idea. I think it was about 2 weeks ago that New York State did a test, and they figured out that almost 20%, 1 out of 5 people in New York City, and that was 2 weeks ago, already had the antibodies for coronavirus. That means 1 out of 5 people living in New York City had coronavirus and may not have even known about it. Well, one thing about coronavirus, it doesn't know skin color. It doesn't know socioeconomic status, although it appears that there are a lot of people in the minority communities and the working class communities who are getting sick and dying, but it's really an equal opportunity killer in the sense that when it comes to you and you get it, it doesn't matter where you live, it doesn't matter who you are. And on Friday, Vice President Mike Pence, it's made it to the White House. He was about to take off to Iowa to promote efforts to reopen the economy, demonstrate that life is returning to normal, but his plane was delayed for over an hour when a member of his staff, it was Press Secretary Katie Miller, that's his press secretary. She is the wife of Lurch. That is correct. She married Lurch, that guy, Stephen Miller. He is the architect of President Trump's very, very evil and harsh and unfair and certainly non-welcoming immigration laws. Well, Katie, his wife, got sick. And I certainly don't wish anybody to be ill, even people I disagree with wholeheartedly, even a guy like Lurch. But the point is that even Lurch and Lurch's family may get it. So on Saturday, 3 key members of the Corona Task Force have now decided, because they're smart people, and they are also, not only they're smart people, but they're considerate people. They're not just about themselves. Dr. Anthony Fauci, for one, because he was in the White House and they're members of the White House, he is at home and he is not contacting, he's quarantining himself for 2 weeks, along with the head of the CDC, because they're concerned they may have coronavirus and may give it to other people. On Saturday, it was reported that Ivanka Trump's personal assistant also tested for coronavirus. And it was also reported that 11 employees of the Secret Service who protect Donald Trump have the coronavirus, and additional 60 people as part of the Secret Service are in quarantine. So and of course, Donald Trump's personal valet. How could we forget? His personal valet also came down with coronavirus. He's the guy who basically dresses Donald Trump and presses his clothes every day and makes sure that he doesn't have any wrinkles in his suits. He comes next to Donald Trump. He dresses the man. All right. So I don't know how yet Donald Trump has not gotten coronavirus. Again, I don't wish it on anybody, but the point is that it can't be controlled. It's everywhere. Now, what is really, really a terrible, terrible thing that's going on with Trump and Pence is that they refuse to wear a mask. Now, for all of the reasons to wear a mask, the most important reason to wear a mask is so that you don't give it to somebody else. People who are not wearing masks out in public in the United States of America, as far as Uncle Brad is concerned, are extraordinarily selfish people, because they are walking around and they are saying, I don't care if somebody else gets sick. I don't care if I get somebody ill because it doesn't affect me. The number one reason to wear a mask is not to infect somebody else. Now, obviously, if you are also wearing a mask, you would not necessarily breathe in coronavirus, although there's other holes in your face, your eyes, and your ears that it can go into. But at least you're protecting 2 out of the 4 or 5 holes on your head. Now, I just read in the New York Times that there was a very serious scientific study, and they said besides social distancing, the thing that works best by preventing the spread of coronavirus is people wearing masks out in public. It is the second best thing to do other than social distance. It works. It prevents the spread of the virus. And if every person in the United States of America wore a mask, we would be lowering the curve. We would be flattening the curve. But unfortunately, we have a lot of mask holes. You know what a mask hole is? Somebody who doesn't wear a mask. And you know who the number 1 and number 2 mask holes are? It's Donald Trump and Mike Pence. Because even today, as you can see on all the various pictures from the White House, every person who works in that White House, including the Secret Service, including all of the aides, all have to wear masks. There's only 2 people who don't have to wear masks, Trump and Pence. They're allowed to infect anybody they want because they are selfish mask holes. And as leaders of the United States, if anybody should be leading and showing people that if you wear a mask, you will prevent the spread of coronavirus, we can get back to normal faster, it would be Donald Trump and Mike Pence. But they don't do it. And as a result of them not doing it, people follow. And as a result of people following, there will be more death, more illness, and this will go on for longer. So Mike Pence and Donald Trump, wear your mask and stop being a mask hole. Meanwhile, and before I get even into New York, what's going on in New York, another comment I want to just on the top of my head. We're fighting 2 wars here. Okay, and everybody has to understand that. There's 2 wars that we are fighting here with coronavirus. What are the 2 wars? We're fighting a health war. We don't want people to be sick. But we are also fighting an economic war because the solution to not getting sick is self-destroying our entire economy. So we are fighting 2 wars at the same exact time. And there has to be a balance, and there has to be a decision made of a balance between fighting these 2 wars. We got to win ultimately both wars. Understanding that in a war, there are casualties. All right. Nobody gets through a war without bruises, without death. Okay. There's going to be casualties in the economy. There are going to be casualties in terms of death by this virus. But ultimately, we have to win the war. So if you are saying, well, how is there one way based on what we have, our tools that we have today, the tools that we have in our existence today, because we don't have a vaccine, we don't have treatments. What are the tools? The tools are stay at home, social distance, and if you're going out, wear a mask, because that prevents people from giving the virus to somebody else. It actually prevents the spread of the virus. And if Donald Trump wants to be reelected, what stupid way would you not want to wear a mask? Why? Because if you're wearing a mask, you're preventing the spread of the virus. Less people dead, more people will vote for you. Number 2, less people dead, less people sick, the better the economy will get, and it'll come faster. So for all of those reasons, stop being a mask hole. With that said, 3 New York children have died of an inflammatory syndrome, and they say that unfortunately it's connected to coronavirus, and that's according to Governor Cuomo. As a result, when everybody thought that we had at least some level of assurity that our children, God forbid they get sick, would survive, now that's not necessarily the case. An inflammatory illness recently observed in dozens of New York children, one that state health officials say is linked to coronavirus. It's killed a teenager and also 2 children under the age of 8 in the state of New York. New York Governor Cuomo said Saturday, we were laboring under the impression young people were not affected by coronavirus. We're not so sure that is the fact anymore. Now, apparently, the children had fever and symptoms similar to toxic shock syndrome and Kawasaki disease. Kawasaki disease causes inflammation in the walls of the blood vessels, including those that supply blood to the heart, which in rare cases can lead to deadly limitations in blood flow. And it seems to me, and I'm not a doctor, but every time I read stories about people, about people who are getting ill and people who are dying. Now, for sure, they don't know for a fact. They don't know for a fact that it is linked. That nobody has scientifically said 100% it's linked, but they believe it is. And what I've noticed, and I'm not a doctor, but what I have noticed is that in all of the deaths, it's always about some sort of inflammation, an inflammation of your lungs, and it fills up with fluid. In terms of these children, it's an inflammation of blood vessels. So apparently this virus is causing very, very severe inflammation in certain people. And in other people, it's not. I don't know why. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. It just appears to me that that is the way that the coronavirus seems to be killing lots of people. Now, today, New York Governor Cuomo announced that parts of New York State, that's where I live, will allow a wide range of businesses from construction and manufacturing and drive-in theaters to reopen by the end of the week. Unfortunately, it's not here in New York City for us. It is up in the Finger Lakes, the Southern Tier and Mohawk Valley regions. That's Western New York and upstate New York, and that is where New York hits, the borders with Canada and Pennsylvania. Now, New York City is not one of the areas that is ready to reopen. The state has been the epicenter of the U.S. outbreak with more than 26,000 deaths. But the daily death toll has been dropping steady with 161 deaths Sunday, which has been the lowest total since March. This week, Alabama, Arizona, South Carolina, they're going to permit dine-in service with occupancy restrictions. Prime Minister Boris Johnson actively is encouraging people in the UK to go back to work. He wants elementary schools across Germany and France are going to reopen on Monday. Arkansas is allowing dental offices to reopen. Minnesota is allowing dentists, doctors, and veterinarians to resume elective surgeries. I got a text message from my eye doctor today that says he's going to be open on May 18th in New York City. So I guess lots of doctors will be open as well. Not law offices yet. We'll still be at home. But here it is, folks. This is the prime example. This is the prime example of the two wars that we are fighting. We're fighting the economic war because if we stay home too long, we're going to lose the economic war. And at the same time, we have to still win the health war. We want to be alive. We want the people we love to be alive. So they're going to go slowly. And it appears that based on everything I'm reading, politicians and the public are willing to have a certain amount of loss of life in order to get back to normal. Now, Mayor de Blasio here in New York City, he hasn't asked me one question about what I would do, but if he's watching, this is what I would do for the restaurants, because there's no reason not to do it right now. We have lots of streets here in New York City, and we're coming into spring and summer. I think every restaurant should be allowed to open, and they should be allowed to make sidewalk cafes for everybody. And everybody should be eating outside, and you could have an area where the waiters can bring the food, and you can have an orderly succession of people going up to like some sort of buffet counter to pick up their food outside and then come back to their table so that the waiter's not even actually serving you your food. But That's how I know. That's how I think restaurants should open, but nobody has spread. What else is going on? Visa bulletin. On Thursday, we talked about the visa bulletin for family-based petitions. Now we want to talk about the visa bulletin for employment-based petitions. So for employment-based petitions, the visa bulletin tells you the day in which you are eligible for a green card. Now, the day in which you're eligible for your green card is called the priority date. How do you establish a priority date? The priority date is established on the day in which your labor application is filed or your visa petition is filed, whichever comes first. So if we look at the visa bulletin right now, and we're looking at dates for filing of employment-based visa applications, these are dates that says when you are eligible for your green card. And people are probably saying, well, what am I looking at here? Well, the first category is for extraordinary ability people who won major international awards, people who are top in their fields. They can sponsor themselves. The second category are for people with master's degrees or 5 years experience in a job, plus a bachelor's degree, or people who are working in the national interest. If you look, it says all chargeability aliens except those listed. That means that's the entire world. So for extraordinary ability people with master's degrees outside of China, El Salvador, India, Mexico, and the Philippines, they're all eligible to get a green card immediately, but for Donald Trump's ban on immigrant visas outside of the United States, but certainly in the United States, they are eligible to adjust. Third category is your skilled workers, somebody who may not necessarily have a bachelor's degree, but has at least 2 years experience in a job. And your other workers are your household workers. Even the household workers, those people who started on April 1st, 2019 are eligible to get their green cards. So a job sponsorship for a household worker is literally a 13-month process from the time you file to the time when you become eligible for your green card. The fourth category is religious workers. Those are your priests, your rabbis. The certain other religious workers are people who are not necessarily the heads of the church, but other religious types, such as perhaps missionary, or people who are selling Bible books and things of that nature. Your fifth category, those are your investor visas, your multi-million-dollar visas. As you can see on the visa category, everything is current for the entire world except the third category, which are your skilled workers, and your other workers. Of course, China, El Salvador, India, Mexico, Philippines have their own waiting lists. And people say, well, why do they have that? Because under the law, you can only have up to 4% of any particular country immigrate to the United States in any given year. And obviously, China, El Salvador, India, Mexico, Philippines are the five largest countries of people who are immigrating to the United States, since they exceed the 4% global population of any particular country. They have their own waiting list. Meanwhile, a New York doctor who's been treating coronavirus patients here in New York, she's still reeling days after getting a devastating letter. Her green card application was denied. So Tuesday of last week, Dr. Julia Irafate told CNN's Chris Cuomo, the brother of our governor, I'm putting my life on the line every day to do this, and it's just blowing my mind right now that they are not appreciating it, or they don't see the value in what I'm offering to do. I'm honestly besides myself. It's like a slap in the face. Irafate is an assistant professor at Columbia University Medical School who specializes in sports medicine, but she wanted to volunteer to work on the front lines as coronavirus cases spiked in her city. She says, because I'm a doctor, because that's what I do, because I know that I can help. Now, when you're a medical doctor, if we go back to the visa waiting list, Lee, for a second, we look at where a medical doctor would fall under. A medical doctor would fall under one of two, either the first category, because they have some sort of extraordinary ability, but I don't know why this doctor would be somebody of extraordinary ability. They would most likely fall under the second category, which is somebody with a master's degree. However, in order to get sponsored in a second degree, in a second category employment-based case, because I could tell you exactly, without even knowing this woman, I know exactly what happened. As a medical doctor, you have to get an interested government agency to say that your work is in the national interest, or you have to be working in a medically underserved area as a primary physician, not as a specialist working in sports medicine, but as a primary physician who treats people for coronavirus because they come in and they give it, and that's the doctor you go for the checkup every year. So because she's not working in a primary care physician in an underserved area, and most likely because she does not have an interested government agency sponsoring her, she would have to do a perm application for a job position and have to file a labor application, and most likely never did it, and is trying to probably squeeze through either somebody with extraordinary ability or somebody maybe with an interested government agency waiver, I don't know. But unfortunately for doctors like everybody else, unless you're the top in your field, you've done something really, really special, or you're working in an underserved area doing primary care, you got to file the labor certification like everybody else, which is probably why she didn't get through. That's my guess, just from reading the news. Meanwhile, this is disgusting what's happening down in Georgia right now. Last Thursday evening, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, 2 men involved in the fatal shooting of Ahmaud Arbery near Brunswick, Georgia. I've been to Brunswick, Georgia, by the way. I know exactly where that is. They were arrested. They're facing murder charges and aggravated assault charges. And what's the saddest, most horrible thing in the world is if there was not a video, none of these people would have ever been arrested because they would have bought their story every time. And that's sad and disgusting. Thank God, at least in this particular case, there was a video. Gregory McMichael and his son, Travis McMichael, they were taken into custody. They were booked into the Glynn County Jail. Lawyers for the family of Arbery released a video last week on Tuesday that appears to show the fatal shooting of Arbery, a black jogger, and an altercation the moments before. Arbery, he was 25. He was shot to death in Brunswick. It's a coastal city midway between Savannah and Jacksonville, Florida. It's right across the intercoastal from Jekyll Island and St. Simon's Island. Police identified the 2 men who chased him as McMichael, 64, his son, Travis, 34. Neither of them have ever been arrested before. Gregory McMichael told police he and his son pursued Arbery because they believed he looked like a suspect in a recent break-in, except there was no break-ins in Brunswick in the last few months. And the only thing that we know is that he was looking into a house. That's what made him suspicious, because he stopped his run to go look into a house that was being built. Do you know how many times I do that? I do that all the time. I always walk by, even here in New York City, I always walk by construction. I always peek in. I'm always curious. That doesn't make me anything other than curious. I always do. I love looking at construction. So in the video of the shooting, Arbery is seen jogging along a road outside Brunswick, Georgia, as he often did. He did the same route often, according to those who knew the former high school football player. And that's when these 2 men just came out of nowhere on the pickup truck. Now, they got into a struggle, obviously, because if somebody pulled out a gun on me, I would get into a struggle with them too. Now, Merritt, and he says he believes the shooter's intention was to kill Arbery without any proper justification, and it was a modern day lynching. I agree. It is the most disgusting video I've ever seen in my life. The 36-second video shot from a vehicle following the pickup truck said to initially be involved in the incident, but the man who shot the video, William Roddy Bryan, shared it with police and was cooperating with investigators. Merritt told CNN, the only thing the suspects ever said is that Ahmaud stopped by a house that was under construction and he looked through the window. But even if that did happen, there is now a homeowner video that shows a man in a white t-shirt walk into a home that is under construction. He didn't take anything from the construction site. He didn't cause any damage to the property. It's not a felony that would invoke the citizen's arrest statute that would make this allowable. I've done this myself. I always walk in construction sites all the time. Luckily, I'm the right skin color. I don't get shot. God forbid. You're black, you get shot. It's horrible. On Sunday, musicians Jay-Z, Alicia Keys, Meek Mill, Yo Gotti released a letter to state officials demanding swift justice for Arbery. Attorneys Lee Merritt and Benjamin Crump, who represent members of the Arbery's family, also signed it. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms told CNN to say the union on Sunday she believes no arrest would have been made without the video that surfaced. I agree. And it's heartbreaking. I agree. And that it's 2020. And I agree. And that this was a lynching of an African-American man. And I also, unfortunately and sadly agree. Meanwhile, in the stupidest news to make it through 2020, Axl Rose, who is the lead singer from Guns N' Roses, if everybody remembers Axl Rose, and Steve Mnuchin, who is the Treasury Secretary, they are in a Twitter war. Why? I don't know. Well, last week, a high-profile Twitter clash occurred between musician Axl Rose and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Rose, who doesn't appear to be a frequent Twitter user, made his fourth original tweet of the year to go after the top Trump official, Mnuchin, who has been heading the Trump administration's economic response. The Guns N' Roses frontman tweeted, "It's official. Whatever anyone has previously thought of Steve Mnuchin, he's officially basically an asshole." Ironically, the tweet came a day after Guns N' Roses cover "Live and Let Die," and if you remember, I sang it last week, was blasted over the loudspeakers as Trump toured the Arizona Honeywell plant that makes respirators without making a mask. Anyway, the viral attack did not go unnoticed by the Treasury Secretary. He responded, "What have you done for the country lately?" he tweeted, tacking what appeared to be an emoji of the United States flag to the end of his response. However, upon closer examination, social media users notified that Mnuchin had actually used an icon of the flag of Liberia, which is nearly identical to the American flag, except instead of 50 stars, it only has one. The original tweet was deleted and replaced with the correct flag, but not before numerous images had been taken. The Liberian flag, as most people know, bears a close resemblance to the flag of the United States, representing Liberia's founding by a group of free people of color and former slaves, primarily from the United States. Well, Rose did not let it go. He wrote back, "My bad. I didn't get we're hoping to emulate Liberia's economic model," Rose tweeted sarcastically before revealing what prompted him to go after Mnuchin in the first place. But on the real, unlike this administration, I'm not responsible for 70,000 deaths. And unlike you, I don't hold a federal government position of respectability to the American people and go on TV telling them to travel the U.S. during a pandemic. Rose appeared to be referencing Mnuchin's interview last Monday with Fox Business Network when asked by host Maria Bartiromo whether he thought international travel might resume this year. Mnuchin said it's too hard to tell and suggested that Americans should travel domestically. Mnuchin said this is a great time for people to explore America. Well, some Twitter reactions. The Atlantic editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, tweeted, "Axl Rose and Steve Mnuchin are apparently fighting on Twitter. I don't think anyone saw that one coming." Another one said, "Pretty hilarious to call out Axl Rose American patriotism and then add the wrong flag," said Billboard writer Corbin Reef. And finally, the U.S. Secretary of Treasury tried to own Axl Rose with a photo of the Liberian flag and had to delete and repost with the American one. "It's so good. I can't take it." GQ columnist Laura Bassett. And that is, folks, our schmooze of the day. We got to get to our immigration questions. If we don't get to our immigration questions soon, it'll be nighttime. We don't want it to be nighttime. So let's get to some of our immigration questions. Before we get to our immigration questions, I have a couple things I got to remind everybody. Number one, please share this with your friends and family. How do you share this on YouTube? The best way to share this on YouTube is to take your thumb and hit the share button. It's a little thing right below my video right now, and you can send a link to your friends by email, by SMS text, or WhatsApp. You can even put a status on your WhatsApp saying, "Hey, I'm watching this right now. Please watch this." Why do we want as many people, frankly, to watch this as we can. And the reason is because there's power in numbers, folks. People want to have a say in how our government works. People want to have a say in the process. Well, the say starts by having numbers, by coming out of the woodwork, by supporting immigrants' rights, social justice, humanitarian causes. You have to be able to show you support this in order to get what we all want. Now, on Facebook, you start a watch party. How do you start a watch party? It's very simple. You hit watch party. You now become the moderator of your own television show. And you can talk about me and talk about everything that we are talking about. Also, leave your questions in our comment section right now, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube. If you're watching on either one, I'm going to answer as many questions as I can in the next 30 to 35 minutes. Leave your questions in the comment section. If you're watching on YouTube right now, I see we have 38 thumbs up and 1 thumb down. We always have that one guy or lady who doesn't like us. So let's show everybody how much everybody likes us. Give us some thumbs up on our YouTube page. If you do not get your immigration questions answered, you can always follow me on Instagram. And if you follow me on Instagram at Real Brad Bernstein, and I know who you are, you could always drop me a DM on Instagram, and I will be happy to help you answer your questions as best as I can. You could also follow us at Brad Show Live. If you follow us at Brad Show Live on Instagram, you'll see the best of our show, as well as see clips of me answering all sorts of immigration questions and schmoozing until we get back into our real studios. And when we get back into our real studios, we'll get back Yo-Yo, we'll get back Nesquik, and we'll do a real Brad Show Live. In the meantime, these are pandemic quarantine pop-ups, and we're doing the best we can. Also, if you're follow us on at Brad Show Live, you want to be able to get a free consultation with me. All you need to do is, besides follow at Brad Show Live, is like the free consultation post, tag 5 friends, and on this Wednesday, I will pull out of my scratchy old hat the name of one person who will win a free consultation with me. We do it every Wednesday. Finally, if you need to speak to me personally, one-on-one, you want to get on my list, this is how you do it. You call 1-800-529-5465. That's 1-800-LAWLINK, 1-800-529-5465. Internationally, the number is +1 212-227-8933. You call right now. You speak to my secretary. You book a consultation with me, or if you're an existing client, you can book a time for me to call. I will then pick up my telephone tomorrow, or on Tuesday, or on Wednesday, or on Thursday, or on Friday, whatever day you want. I sit right here in the same exact spot. I call you from my phone, and we have a personal one-on-one private consultation, and I'll see what I can do to assist. So the telephone number again, 1-800-529-5465. And with that, let's go to something we like to call social media check-in, pandemic quarantine edition. Or I answer your questions. I don't know what we call it, but whatever we call it, it's basically I'm answering your immigration questions. All right, so let's see. I'm pulling out my phone here. And what do we got? All right, Hernandez Sammy with his first question. Good evening, Brad. My friend's VAWA was denied because he remarried while his VAWA was still pending. Is that normal? No, it's not normal. Anita Nelson, Uncle Brad, please, I have 2 questions. One, when an officer mentioned, by the way, my son feels the need to call me 5 times. Hi, son, how are you? Do you realize I'm live and have hundreds and hundreds of people, or maybe even 1,000 people watching me right now? Do you understand why I wouldn't answer your phone call before? Thank you. He hangs the phone up. He's now called me 75 million times. So let's go back to immigration questions. Anita Nelson, I have 2 questions. One, when an officer mentions investigation, when do you think they will come? Because I work at night and come home. They don't tell you when they're going to come. I don't know. Number 2, please ask, our Stokes interview has been 4 months now. When do you think we will hear from the officer? If you passed your interview, you should hear within 4 to 6 months. If you didn't pass your interview, it's going to take a lot longer because they have to write a decision. So the longer it takes for them to write you, the more unlikely it is, unfortunately, that you passed. That doesn't mean you didn't pass. I'm just saying more unlikely. Afua Yuboa. Hi, Brad. What does it mean if I received a work permit under VAWA through a green card holder? Does it mean my VAWA is approved? No, it does not mean it's approved. It means you got a work permit. Why? Because maybe you filed an adjustment application because the priority dates are current for F2A category. Maybe it's because you already have the VAWA approved and you did a C31 work permit. If your work permit says C31, that means your VAWA was approved. You still have to file an adjustment. If it says C9, that means you just have a pending adjustment. It's not necessarily that your VAWA was approved. Jasmine McDonald, will low-income housing affect your citizenship? No, it's not. Oscar Crucius with a question. Huge question. What's going on, Brad? Well, I'm doing a show. My son's bothering me by calling me on the phone. It was raining out. The weather's crazy, but now it's stopped raining, and I see it's sunny again. And I'm getting hungry, but I'll finish the show first before I eat dinner. That's basically what's going on. Yo-Yo saying squad up. How are you? Denisha Joseph. And she says she accidentally went on YouTube, got off fast. She is only a Facebook watcher, nothing else. Let's see. First Lady Leah. Hi, Uncle Brad. My friend got a letter of intent to deny to prove a bona fide marriage. His U.S. citizen spouse had contacted ICE and reported the marriage as fraud on the immigration website. But he filed a VAWA. Will that affect his VAWA application? His previous lawyer didn't send the letter to notify them as he stated she would. Well, if the spouse says it's a fraudulent marriage, it could be just retribution and additional abuse. So just because, the spouse says it was a fraudulent marriage doesn't necessarily mean it is when you were filing a VAWA, provided that they had never interviewed the spouse before you filed the VAWA. Mohammed Junaid Sadiq with a question. I just want to know that I am on the family visa F3 row. Please tell me when the public charge will apply on me. Is it before the visa interview abroad or after entering the U.S.? Your expert answer will be very helpful. Thanks a lot in advance. God bless you. God bless America. Mohammed, it applies when you go to the immigrant visa interview. To get the immigrant visa, you have to prove you will not become a public charge. I don't know if this is true or not, but there is some talk in the comment section that Dr. Fauci is decided not to self-quarantine anymore. I don't know if that's true. I did not see that in the news, but maybe that happened recently. I don't know. Let's see what else. Pandeep Ram with a question. Nope, he has a statement. Pence is just showing to Trump that he's being assistant to him, exactly filing him so that he would be seen as the favorite and trustful guy. You're right. And Rajendra BSR. Hi, Brad. My daughter is a U.S. citizen. She filed an I-130 for me October 2019. It was approved last week. I live in Trinidad. What should I expect now? You should expect to get a choice of forms and pay a fee and then do the affidavits of support. And then hopefully sometime next year when the pandemic is over and the planes are flying and Trump is done with this 60-day ban, you should be here. I do affidavits of support and everything else. Mariam Dan Fulani. Hi, Brad. I'm in Nigeria, but have U.S. citizenship. Can I apply for my mom's green card? You can, but again, Nigeria has a ban. But by the time your mom gets an interview, it will be more than a year from now. If your mom's in the U.S. and she has a visa, that would be a lot easier because you can adjust her status here. That doesn't apply to the ban. The ban only applies to people in another country. Novalet Johnson. Hi, Brad. I am waiting to be rescheduled to take my oath ceremony. I filed for my daughter in February of 2016, and she was approved in February 2017. I paid all the fees for her. So can you please tell me how much longer will it take? She will be 25 years old. Brad, you are doing a great job. Well, if she's in the F2B category, it's going to be about 2 to 3 years. If she somehow is still in the F2A category, which I don't know under the Child Status Protection Act, I would only be able to tell if I saw your I-130 approval. But if she's in the F2B category, it's about 2 to 3 years. But if somehow she's Child Status Protection Act, then she should be eligible for a green card shortly. Pradeep Ram, replying to Miriam. Miriam, giving answers. I don't know what Miriam's question is, so I can't say whether Pradeep is right or not. Let's see what his answer is, and let me figure out if Pradeep is right. But I don't know what Miriam, granted, I don't know what Miriam's question is. Miriam, you can apply here in the U.S. and your mom can approach the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria and get the stamp in her passport. So once she arrives here at the airport, she has to sign at the airport, and then in 2 weeks' time, they will deliver her green card to the mailbox. Well, you can't get any stamp right now in Nigeria for an immigrant visa because there's a Nigerian ban. However, if your mother has a visitor's visa and travels to the U.S. and then subsequently changes her mind and decides to stay here after 90 days, you could file an adjustment. CIA West. Hi, Uncle Brad. My son gets food stamps and health insurance. Will this affect my widow petition? No, it should not. Ruthie Ogichu Uno. Hi, Brad. I filed VAWA in April 2018. I received 3 prima facies, but the decision has not been made on my case yet. Do you have an idea why? Yeah, they're really backed up. Eventually, you'll get an RFE, but the fact that you got prima facie would lead me to believe that you have an approvable case. Let's see what else we got here. Samora Patterson with a question. Bless up, Brad. My priority date is 10 September 2019. My petition is at the Texas Service Center, and they are listed to be reviewing cases for October 2019. I submitted an inquiry and was told my case is not qualified for an inquiry. Could you help me to understand why they said this? I don't know why they would say this, because if they have passed your date, you should be able to send an inquiry. So I don't know why they said this. You should certainly give me a call and we can follow up and see what the problem is. See what else we got. Michael Overcome Newsom. Good afternoon, Uncle Brad. How long does it take to get an I-130 to be approved? It depends on who's filing for you. There's a lot of different people who could be filing for you. Sometimes I-130s take 6 months. Sometimes they take 6 years. Depends who's filing for you. So tell me who's filing for you. Beuma, Uncle Brad, do you partner with a PI law firm for personal injury? Beuma, we are a personal injury firm. Have you watched Bradshaw Live? Have you seen the great results that Moshe, the bulldozer Baruch gets? Have you seen David Moreno? Have you seen David Levy? We have an awesome PI practice, make millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars for our clients. So you can call us. I don't have to partner. We are. Real Trendy Stars. My friend went for her interview in December. It was good, and they gave her a paper saying review case in 120, and that time passed and no updates. What should she do? Write the officer a letter and start harassing the officer. What's going on? Tamara Ramdeen, when can I see you in person? I like to have face-to-face consultations. You got to ask Governor Cuomo. I don't know when they're going to allow us to open our office, but we will be doing phone consultations for quite a while still. So I'm happy to help you. We can do it by phone. You don't need to look me in the eyes. I'm going to tell you the same exact thing by phone or if you saw me in person. Trust me. Rose Hines. Hi, Mr. Brad. My question is, does the charity form affect getting a green card? The form is similar to Medicare. Only that it lasts for 6 months, has to be updated every 6 months. The form is concerning healthcare and not public charge. I'm not sure what charity form you're talking about, but if you get charity, that's not public charge because you're not getting anything from the government. Brahim Okafor. Hi, Brad. Is advanced premium tax credit health insurance considered a public charge? I don't believe it is, but I would need to see specifically what you're doing. Tremaine Ramdeen says, I called, but they told me it's only over the phone. It's what it is, Tramdeen. I can only talk to you over the phone right now. Why? Because we're in quarantine. They don't allow us in the office. And then even after they allow us in the office, it's probably not the smartest thing in the world to be coming to see me and having lots of clients coming to see me. You're better off to call me over the phone. It's safer. Call me. I promise you I'll help you. I help lots and lots of people over the phone. Let's see what else we got. First Lady Leah. Follow-up, Brad. They did the interview in early December and he filed VAWA after, but he has evidence of abuse. Will the letter to deny affect his VAWA application? If there's evidence of abuse and there's evidence that it was a real marriage, it doesn't matter what the other party to the marriage said, this other spouse said, so don't worry about it. And finally, Silbert Nelson with a question. Hi, Brad. My son did his interview in January in Jamaica. He got his immigrant visa. He's 20 years old. He's going to be 21 this month. His visa expires next month. Can he still come after his birthday? And what if the visa expires before he gets a chance to come here? I'm a U.S. citizen. As long as he comes here before the expiration of the visa, he's fine. Even if it happens after he turns 21, there's Child Status Protection Act. So he's perfectly fine to come in after. Let's just hope the planes are running. Let's take a look over at YouTube and see what we got on YouTube. Lady Leah is a little upset at me. She doesn't want me to give number 45. That's the red guy, the orange guy. I think he's more red than orange now. Any advice to get reelected? He's on borrowed time. I hope so. I really hope so, Lady Leah. Jerry Stewart, since the 60 days ban, will the I-130 application submitted by permanent residents for spouses underage child be processed? Yes, they will be. Sue Andy on YouTube. Brad, if the I-130 was approved and the I-765 and the I-45 was denied because the I-864 was not submitted, do I have to file everything over, meaning the I-130? No, if you have an I-130 approved, just file the I-765, the I-131, the I-864, and the I-45, but be careful. Because you know what Einstein said. Einstein said, if you do the same thing over and over again and don't change anything and expect a different result, that's the definition of insanity. So if you just think you're going to refile it again with the same exact stuff, you're going to be denied again and again and again. So make sure you get it right. God's property. Uncle Brad, how do you know what kind of green card I will get if my marriage is more than 2 years despite never lived in the United States? You're going to get a permanent 10-year card. You will not get a 2-year card. Marco Salinas, Brad, please help me with my question. I will try my best. I was married to a U.S. citizen. My lawyer sent my VAWA in April 2018, and in December 2018, my I-45 form. I received my EAD C-31 on March 2020. Is the EAD category C-31 mean that my VAWA case is approved? It does. It means your VAWA was approved. You still have to wait on an adjustment interview, but you are 90% of the way there. Congratulations. Better Life Records. My priority date has passed. I submitted an inquiry, and they say my case is not ready for an inquiry. We answered that. I don't know if they've already passed your date, then in terms of processing, then you need to contact me, especially when you call them and you get stupid answer like that. Let's see what else is happening. And Tracy Lacey, I guess, talking about Ahmaud Arbery. Uncle Brad, I'm so upset about this incident. Racism pretty much dominant. I agree. It's extraordinarily upsetting. It's disgusting, actually, that in 2020 something like this would happen. You would think that by now, after everything our world has gone through, that, you know, there's racism. All right. I don't believe racism is ever going to be stamped out. It's never going to be a utopian society where there's no racism. But the overt, outright racism where somebody feels because somebody's a different color than them, they could literally take out a gun and shoot them. I thought we were past that in America, and it's very upsetting that we're not. And it's a horrible, horrible feeling. Jerry Stewart with a question. If the beneficiary has a bachelor's degree in education, does it add any value to the I-130 petition that was submitted on his or her behalf? It does not add value to the I-130. It adds value to the affidavit of support to show that you will have an education and therefore more likely to be an employable person. Ken Roy Arnold, good evening, Uncle Brad. When filling out the I-45, what is your current immigration status? It has changed since your arrival. If you came on a visitor's visa and overstayed, what should you put? Your current immigration status is visitor's visa, and where it says, and it should say expiration date, and it expired already. It's 6 months expired. But your status is still, you're an overstay on a visitor's visa. That's your status. Let's see what else there is. James Hill. My I-45 case updated to case ready to be scheduled for interview. Can I do the I-693 medical now or wait 60 days before the interview? Wait to get the interview before you do it, because I don't want you to do it and then it expires. So just because your case is ready for an interview doesn't mean the interview is happening right away. It could happen in 9 months from now. Marco Salinas, I answered your question. Saghar Rasalamini. If I have a pending asylum case, but I got married and I file a combo card, can I travel with the combo card and an Iranian passport? Yes, but not to Iran. Because if you go back to Iran as an Iranian asylee, you're saying, oh, now that I got it, it's safe to go back. You're going to have a problem. You can't go back to Iran. You can go somewhere else, obviously, but not to Iran. Let's see. Godwin David. Hi, Brad. How long does it take to get EAD as a K-1 applicant? You're not going to get an EAD as a K-1. Once you come as a K-1, you get married and file the adjustment. That's when you get the work permit. Now, I know the law says you're entitled to an EAD for the 90-day period you're here on a K-1 visa, but it takes over 90 days for them to issue it. So the reality is you don't get it. AJ, is insurance provided by employer considered public charge? No, it's the opposite. It's good for you. A, you have health insurance, and B, that shows you work for that insurance, AJ. So when an employer gives you health insurance, part of your compensation is health insurance. It shows you're working for that. It's not, you're not getting it for free from the government. Beach, can you extend your O1 with a pending adjustment of status through marriage? I don't think my EAD will arrive until I want to have an employment. I don't want to have an employment gap. Yes, you can. Goldie Leone, I have my 2-year card. My husband wants to file for divorce and report the marriage as fraudulent. Will this affect me getting my 10-year card? Well, getting a divorce will not affect you. Your husband saying that it's fraudulent, you know, unless he has evidence to say it's fraudulent, usually that's just an aggrieved spouse. As long as you get divorced and you can prove you and him live together for a period of time, you will get a green card. You are the captain of your boat. Don't let him scare you. And you can give me a call, obviously, at 1-800-529-5465. That's 212-227-8933, 1-800-529-5465 if you want help with that. Marco Salinas, Brad, please help me with one more question. What is that question, Marco? Write it again. Saghar Rusalamini, thank you so much. A follow-up question. Would I be considered a public charge if I receive unemployment while going through adjustment? You will not be a public charge as long as your wife or your spouse is working and you have a good affidavit of support from somebody else. Marco Salinas with the follow-up. How long do I have to wait from the moment I receive my EAD C31 March 2020 to the interview or get a green card? Will I be able to renew my work permit C31 if the green card does not arrive on time? Yes. Usually it's about 9 to 12 months for an interview. Manveer Singh. Hi, Uncle Brad. I submitted an RFE for the I-693, which is the medical form, on December 16th, 2019 in Federal Plaza. It's been 5 months. How long more will it take to get my green card? My I-360 was approved in November 2019. Hopefully not much longer. If they ask you for your medical, that means they're looking at your case right now. So hopefully just weeks or a couple months at the most. Manveer Singh. Hi, Uncle Brad. I submitted my RFE. I did that. Kelly Desire. Hi, Brad. If your mom's birth certificate was left off the petition I-130, is that a major issue, or can it be sent on a notice on an NOA? If the I-130 was left off, they have the right to just deny you or RFE you, which is a request for further evidence, and ask for it. Hopefully they RFE you. Mariatu Dukori. As a green card holder, can I adopt my niece back home? I was the one taking care of her since she was born. Her mother is mentally disabled. Be very careful adopting somebody back home if you don't have legal guardianship of them and you have not lived with them for 2 years. Also, there's different laws depending on for adoption, depending on whether you're in a Hague-related country or a non-Hague country. So there's lots of things that can trip people up with adoption. So I do not recommend just going to do an adoption before you talk to lawyers. I'm telling you, lots and lots of people get tripped up doing adoptions, and then poor children are left back home and never able to come here. Silent Wind. Silent Wind. I know a couple of jokes about Silent Wind. Hi, Brad. My wife's I-45 has been denied in 2013, first as a public charge. The new I-45 filed in 2018, work permit advance parole issued, but the I-45 was denied and the I-29B was approved. And also a new I-601 was denied. Help. Yeah, help is right. You've been doing this for 8 years now. Help. It sounds like your wife needs some sort of waiver. I don't know what for. Come in and see me. Daniel K. I'm a U.S. citizen. I filed the I-130 for my mother and father. It's in the National Visa Center stage. How does the ban affect you? It affects that the parents of U.S. citizens cannot enter the United States with green cards until the ban is expired. We're about 30 days into the ban. Let's hope it does not get extended. Quite frankly, it's quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Self-dealing in the sense that Trump's wife, Melania, was able a year and a half ago to file as a U.S. citizen for her parents. That was perfectly okay. And the Trumps were extraordinarily happy that the parents came, and they had a big thing on the news that the parents came. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. But no one else can file for their parents now. Quite self-dealing. Spider-Man, I did not answer my question. Spider-Man, I didn't see the question. So ask the question one more time, Spider-Man. Let's see. Did Spider-Man ask a question? How could we deny Spidey? All right. I don't have that Spidey sense that you have that I saw the question. Let's go quickly back to Facebook and Spider-Man. If you have that question, I'm happy to answer it. We have about 5 or 10 minutes left of the show, more like 5. By the way, on YouTube, Kelly Desire, what does IOE mean on letter received stating your priority date? IOE? I have no idea what IOE means. James Hill, will they likely waive the I-45 interview during coronavirus for family-based son of U.S. citizen? They've been waiting for an interview. It's likely they could. It's likely that they would now. Silbert Nelson on Facebook. Hi, Brad. My son did his interview in January in Jamaica. He got his immigrant visa. He's 20 years old and will be 21 this month. Oh, I answered that question already. Sadiq Islam. What happens if I can't travel within the time my visa expires? I can't travel due to the pandemic. It's a problem. A lot of people have that problem. I don't know what the embassies are going to do when they open, but they will obviously have to do something. But I don't have the answer for you yet. We'll have to see. Lorna Ross with a pre-comment of the day. Thank God I received my green card through your office at 10 years. Miss Marina was my lawyer. I got it 3 weeks ago. Congratulations. And Marina is our lawyer up in Connecticut. Anything else? Anything else quickly here? Clifford Gordon also replying to Lorna. One of the greatest feelings when you open that mail and everything on the card is correct. All right. And Spider-Man with his question. Uncle Brad, if VAWA green card holder stays outside for 3 months before citizenship, that time would be included or excluded? It's included for citizenship. The laws for citizenship are you have to be a permanent resident for VAWA who are married to U.S. citizen for 3 years. And 18 months in the country out of those 3 years, no trip out of the country more than 4 months. That's the laws for VAWA. Jack A. Harris with a quick question. I have a joint sponsor for an adjustment of status. If I amend my taxes to be filed jointly with my husband, would it be enough to not need a joint sponsor? No, because you cannot use income that you earned towards your sponsorship unless you were employed legally in the United States for at least 10 years or 40 quarters, which is 10 years. Harago Jabrisis. Hi, Brad. Thank you for your everyday help. My brother married an LPR and his wife filed the I-130 and I-45 concurrently because the F2A is current. Is that possible? And he made a mistake. No, it's possible. Beej. One last question. Will I fall under the 240-day rule of being allowed to work even after my O1 expires as long as I submit the I-129 before the O1 expiration? Yes. Carol the Top Cat Anderson. Everyone, Brad is such an amazing and patient lawyer. He is here to help everyone who will get help. He is the best ever. All right. And with that, thank you very much, Carol. That was another pre-comment of the day. If I did not get a chance to answer your questions, You could always follow me at Real Brad Bernstein. Drop me a DM. I'll be happy to answer it to the best of my ability. You can also follow us at Bradshaw Live. Please do not forget to subscribe on YouTube. You'll be notified every day we come on the air, which is every day, Monday through Friday. And right now we're doing pandemic, but wait till we get back in the studio. You think pandemic is good? Pandemic pop-up is good? Wait till we get to start doing real Bradshaw Live. If you're a new viewer, the old viewers will tell you how great a show it is. You know, this is just me popping up in my apartment during quarantine, pandemic quarantine, and answering immigration questions and giving people an update of what's going on. But wait until we get back into the studio and we get Yo-Yo and Nestquick and the entire crew back. It's going to be amazing. So please, you're going to definitely want to subscribe on YouTube and be notified every time we get on the air. And of course, on Facebook, you also want to like and follow. Again, you will be notified every time we get on the air. Finally, if you need to reach me, you want to speak to me, you want to have a consultation with me, the telephone number to call is 1-800-529-5465. That's 1-800-LAW-LINK, 1-800-529-5465, 1-800-529-5465. And Lee, do we have any comments of the day? Comments of the day, Lee. Bayuma, thank you. We would open up the country sooner if everyone just grew up and wore masks. Exactly. And Nancy Abel, thanks for the good job you were doing with the community by answering immigration questions. May God bless you. Thank you. I need all the blessings. Please trust me, I do. Invader TV, Brad looking fresh. That's right. I secretly got my hair cut. And anything else? I think that's it. All right, folks. With that, we will see you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back sometime between 4:30 and 5 tomorrow evening. Until then, adios.